All right, good day. This week's question week comes from one of my students. They're moving to another area, and where they're going, there's not a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school. And so they asked me, do I think it would be a waste of time for them while they're stationed in this new area to train in a traditional martial art, whether that was karate, taekwondo, kung fu, krav maga, what have you. And I thought it was an excellent question, and I wanted to tackle that as the question of the week. And to start, just say, no, it's not a waste of time. I'm highly encouraging my student to train in one of those traditional martial arts at that new Dooley location, because there's not a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school there. And it's one of the reasons I wanted to address it is because one of the problems in the martial arts community, and really the world at large, is we feel that whatever we're invested in is what's best and everything else is inferior. So if you ask a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy, what do you think about karate? It's not as good. It's much more effective to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu than kung fu, krav maga, judo, what have you. But the reality is I'm not an expert on those other martial arts. I know Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I don't think it's a waste of time to train in these other arts, because they're very good arts that have often cases been around for hundreds, sometimes thousands of years. And there is merit to those martial arts. They're very good. And I would much prefer training in one of those traditional martial arts than not training in any martial arts. So learning how to punch or kick or whatever that martial art is focusing on is going to benefit you in comparison to if you just stay home and you don't train. So you're going to be much better off. And it's just like I have a Chevy pickup truck. Somebody says, well, what's the best pickup truck? Clearly a Chevy pickup truck. But is it better than a Ford or a Dodge Ram or Nissan or Toyota? Well, I chose the Chevy, so I think it's best. But that doesn't mean these other trucks are necessarily bad. It just means I like Chevys. I like the Chevy pickup truck. So that's me. Same thing, when it comes to self-defense, you can look at the firearms community. Like, I like the Glocks. I like the striker-fired pistol. I think they're great. But there's an argument to be made for the hammer-fired, whether it's the SIG 226, or I got good friends that really love the revolver. They're like, hey, I like the revolver. And I got another friend, I joke with him all the time. He's a retired Marine and I'm retired Navy, so of course our jokes are a little bit more hardcore. And he's like, Saad, you should do the 1911. He loves his 1911 pistol. He's like, won World War I and World War II. It's great. And I was like, Larry, I would, but I was evaluating and I was like, if I'm going to do outdated technology, I might as well get a slingshot. I mean, it worked for David against Goliath. And that was just a good rib shot. It was like funny. It's like, we both laughed. We cussed at each other a little bit. It was great. But I kid. The 1911 is a great platform. And it's a great self-defense platform. As is the revolver, as is the hammer-fired pistols, as is the striker-fired pistols. Or, if you're talking about rifles, the AK or the AR, great platforms. You choose the one that you want. Each person that's into that platform is going to say, oh, this is the best. And they'll have their reasons. And some of the reasons will be valid. You'll be like, there are valid advantages of one system over another. But that doesn't mean that it's better to go without than to have one. Like it's better to have one even if it's not your preferred one. Same thing with martial arts. You may prefer to do one particular style, but if you go somewhere and that style is not available, then you need to do something else. And I did that in my military journey, because in the military every 2-3 years they transferred me someplace else. And at the time, I was doing Hapkido. This is like back in 2004, 2005. And I was a black belt in Hapkido. And I got transferred to Beaufort, South Carolina, and they didn't have any Hapkido schools there. So I was like, oh, well, what am I going to do? And it's like, oh, they had an MMA school that had a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu program. So I started training there. And had I not got stationed there, I might not have, started up Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But it was like, well, there's no Hapkido. Let me try Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And then I fell in love with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. The rest is history. I've been doing it for almost 20 years now. And I haven't done Hapkido since. But that was me. That was a decision that benefited me. And maybe you'll make the same discovery. Maybe you'll go someplace, you'll find Taekwondo or Kung Fu or Karate or whatever martial art they're doing there. And you go there and like go in there with the open mind. You may find, man, it's phenomenal. And you love it. And that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. And it's definitely not a waste of time. So that's my recommendation. If you go someplace and they don't have the martial art that you prefer, and it's better to train something else rather than train nothing at all. That's my opinion. That's my answer to this week's question of the week. Any comments, insights below, please fill down below your experience in your martial arts journey, what different arts you've tried, and some of the pros and cons, and just the positive or negative experiences of your journey. So, looking forward to reading your comments. Till next week, ciao.